the gaggle, right? Are we doing that up here? Or are we doing that later? Okay. All right. Let's follow Karen here. All right, Karen, you lead the way. Go ahead. So you can be up here, your audio guy. All right. So we have a few reporters here. So look, guys, what we wanted to do here was a couple things. First of all, we wanted to come and say thank you to the National Guard's folks, to the cops for actually keeping this place safe. If you look at what's happened in Washington, D.C. in just the past 9 days, we've seen a 35% reduction in violent crime. We've seen over a 50% reduction in robberies. We are seeing really substantial effects because these guys are busting their ass. So I wanted to come here, highlight what they're doing, say thank you in person, obviously pass out a few burgers, but most of all, just send a message to the American people. Look, we don't have to live like this. We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and disorder and by chaos. You can actually do stuff. You can actually bring law and order to communities. You've just got to have the political willpower to do it. And I think you hear these guys outside here screaming at us. Of course, these are a bunch of crazy protesters. But I'll tell you, a couple of years ago when I brought my kids here, they were being screamed at by violent vagrants, and it was scaring the hell out of my kids. And one of the things that we've done already in Union Station in just 9 days is we've made it a place where people can walk around safely. They can bring their kids again. They can see this beautiful monument, the architecture. They can have a meal with their friends and their loved ones because, again, we brought some law and order back to Washington, D.C. So I want to thank Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller. I want to thank all the people, the guardsmen here and the police officers who have worked very hard. And I know that we've traded now some violent, crazy people who are screaming at kids with a few crazy liberals who are screaming at the vice president, but I think that's a very worthwhile trade to make because we want our people to be able to enjoy our beautiful cities. And the last thing I'll say is to the American people, D.C. is already safer than it was 9 days ago, but we're going to make it safer still to come. This is your city. You should feel free to come and visit here, have a meal, see all these incredible monuments, and actually enjoy yourself, and that's what we're trying to make happen. And I think that if we set a standard in Washington, D.C., that political willpower can bring some common sense law and order back to these communities, then maybe some other communities and other cities will follow suit. So it's kind of crazy. You hear these guys outside. They appear to hate the idea that Americans can enjoy their communities, and they do the fact that D.C. a week ago had a higher murder rate than Trinidad and Tobago, which the United States State Department has said you shouldn't visit because it's unsafe. We ought to be able to enjoy great American cities. That's what we're trying to do in the Trump administration, and we want to thank all of our law enforcement and National Guardsmen for making it possible. We made a lot of progress in 9 days. We're going to make a whole lot more. I'll let Pete and Stephen Miller say something, and we'll take a few questions from the reporters. So, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'll just start by saying yes and amen to everything you said. The American people, the residents of D.C., deserve a safe and beautiful city. That's our mission. That's what every one of these captains, lieutenants, staff sergeants, specialists, privates, they're here because they're patriots who serve the country and believe we deserve a beautiful, safe capital. And when I talk to all of them, Stephen, we've all had a chance to talk to them, they're proud of this mission. They're proud to be a part of making sure law and order is established here in the Capitol. We're resourcing them with everything they need, working with our law enforcement partners. So the National Guard, the Defense Department is proud to be standing with you and the President in ensuring we have a safe Capitol that is beautiful, that residents can come visit. We're committed to this mission, just like the one at the southern border and in Los Angeles. Our law enforcement officers deserve to be able to do their job safely, and American citizens, putting American citizens and our country first is something President Trump has emphasized from the beginning. So thank you to these troops. I know I always liked a good cheeseburger when I was in uniform, so hopefully we can deliver a few of those. It's an honor to be here with you, and also, Stephen, thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you to the Vice President for bringing us here today. Thank you, Secretary, for your leadership, and most importantly, thank you to the men and women of the National Guard. I think here's the most important point. There are residents who lived in Washington, D.C. their entire lives. Their parents lived here, their grandparents lived here, and they have lived for generations in intolerable conditions of crime and decay. There are parts of the city, I moved to the city 20 years ago. There are places where I've seen graffiti that has been untouched for 2 decades. There are homeless encampments that have made it impossible for families to use public parks and public recreation for as long as I've lived here. There are hundreds of residents of this city who are shot in street violence every single year, making it one of the most violent cities on planet Earth. And for too long, 99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of the city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots, they have no connections to the city, they have no families they are raising in this city, they have no one that they are sending to school in this city, they have no jobs in this city, they have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the Vice President are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. And let's just also address one other thing. All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, the support of the National Guard, and our federal law enforcement officers. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Stephen. A few questions.
Mr. Vice President, why are troops stationed here at Union Station on the National Mall instead of areas in D.C. where crime is statistically highest?
Well, if you've ever been to Union Station in the last few years with your family, you know that crime is actually extremely high right here in Union Station. You have vagrants, you have drug addicts, you have the chronically homeless, you have the mentally ill who harass, who threaten violence, who attack families, and they've done it for far too long. This should be a monument to American greatness. This should be a place where you can come and share a meal or go shopping with your family. It should not be a place where parents of small children are afraid to bring them because, to Stephen's point, we have empowered criminals over the people who actually need public safety in the city. So I think Union Station is a great example of what's possible when you actually have the political willpower to bring law and order and common decency back to the public spaces of the United States of America. So many Americans live in cities, they occupy these spaces, they know how unsafe they are, and they would love to be able to just live their life in places like Union Station without violent criminals making it impossible. We have changed so much in 9 days, and I thought it important to highlight how great of a space this could be, how easy it could be to actually enjoy something like Union Station if you just had politicians who stopped prioritizing violent criminals over the public citizens who deserve public safety in their own communities.
And to add to that real quick, we talked to a first responder before we came up here, said this is their #1 call location is Union Station for first responders. So it's not as if this is insignificant. In many ways, this is part of the epicenter. And we go to that and return it to the safe location that it should be. It also frees up resources around the city. And you've seen a majority of the arrests happening in a lot of those places that need help.
That's right. Well, look, we'll ultimately let the President of the United States determine where we are after 30 days of this emergency order. I think that we're going to make a lot of progress over the next 20 days. I think that we're 9 days into this thing. But if the President of the United States thinks that he has to extend this order to ensure that people have access to public safety, then that's exactly what he'll do. If he thinks he doesn't have to do that, obviously he'll make that determination. But what we're going to do is try to empower these guys to do as good of a job as possible to bring public safety and order back to Washington, D.C. This is the national cultural and political capital of the world's greatest nation, and you talk to people, black, brown, white, so many of them are afraid to bring their kids into its public spaces. It's a shame. It's a blight. It actually should make every American ashamed that the world's leading superpower, our national capital, was unsafe for families to walk around at night. That is a disgrace. We don't think that it's acceptable, and thank God we have the presidential leadership to change it, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. Well, I think that crime statistics all over our country were massively underreported because a lot of people would pick up the phone, they'd call somebody, they'd try to get help, and nobody would show up. If you look at wait times, at 911 response times all across our country, but certainly in Washington, D.C., they were way too long. And that wasn't because of the D.C. police, that was because there was too much crime and too few law enforcement agents on the street to bring order and decency to this city. You talk to these guys. I talked to 3 police officers earlier. I've talked to the National Guard. They are so happy that they've been empowered to do their job, which is to make American streets safe for American citizens. And I think that empowerment is going to keep on going until we make America, and D.C. in particular, a safe place again. I'm sorry?
Are you going to be releasing evidence of this?
Of what? That D.C. has a terrible crime problem? You just got to look around. Obviously, D.C. has a terrible crime problem. The Department of Justice statistics back it up. The FBI statistics back it up. Just talk to a resident of this city, this beautiful, great American city. Don't they deserve... I mean, we talk about human rights. We hear these people outside screaming, "Free D.C." Let's free D.C. from lawlessness. Let's free Washington, D.C. from one of the highest murder rates in the entire world. Let's free Washington, D.C. so that young families can walk around and feel safe and secure. That's what we're trying to free D.C. from. And as Stephen said, it's kind of bizarre that we have a bunch of old, primarily white people who are out there protesting the policies that keep people safe when they've never felt danger in their entire lives. Well, I'll let these guys jump in. I mean, look, on the Russia-Ukraine war, we'll obviously have time to talk about that. I think the president campaigned on being a president of peace. He's already ended 6 wars. He's trying to end another. I think it's kind of disgraceful that the American media is attacking the president for trying to bring peace to the world. But most importantly, the president is trying to bring peace to the streets of our own cities. I really can't overemphasize this enough. It's the greatest country in the world. We've got moms and dads and young families. Shouldn't they be able to enjoy public spaces without vagrants taking away basic public safety from the American citizenry? The fact that it's taken so long to bring common decency and law and order back to Washington, D.C. is an indictment of a generation of failed leadership, and I hope these guys know how grateful we are that they're doing the job that so many fail to do. They're actually keeping the city safe. We're proud of you, and we're grateful to you. I'm sorry? I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C. I don't know what poll you're talking about. Maybe the same polls that said Kamala Harris would win the popular vote by 10 points. Okay, we're going to stop there. We're going to grab a quick bite with some of the soldiers here and the National Guardsmen who are keeping the city safe. Again, I just want to say we're grateful to these guys. You guys are making D.C. safe again. We're proud of you, and we're grateful to you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, thank you.
I'll have a bite. Full press.
Press one. No, you go. The rest of the pool.
Yeah, one right there.
Walk them outside the front. Let's go. George, open up. Press up.
Pieces of shit!
I know, we're loading up.